Hey, welcome to Squarebody Stuff. I'm Chad. We're still plugging away on Squeaky. Bound and determined to get him to the track at least one time this year to make a full pass. Now, we made it to a track in Sykeston a month ago, something like that. Couldn't make a full pass because we broke the drive shaft and fixed the drive shaft at the track, made the burnout contest, had a lot of fun. Got back to the shop, replaced the drive shaft that I had built and that I rebuilt at the drag strip with the original drive shaft. Put a couple hundred miles on the truck. I decided to put a carrier bearing, a solid carrier bearing, actually go through this drive shaft to make it better. While I was under there, found a cracked bell housing. So now we got the transmission on a stand, fixing the bell housing problem. So maybe that'll catch you up to where we're at now. If you really want to get caught up, the last two videos, last couple videos. At this point, I think I'm going to have one in between now and then. It gets confusing sometimes. Anyhow, so what we're doing is setting up this steel scatterproof bell housing to get on this transmission. Now, to do that, I had to machine the input shaft, bearing housing, bearing retainer, whatever you want to call it, that goes on the front of the transmission. I've actually got it chucked in my lathe right now. I have it machined. From the last video, you can see that I had it machined to fit the inside of this hole because it was too big around for this bell housing to fit over. So I got it machined down. I got to that point. Video was kind of long. Well, not long, but I try to keep them, within 20 minutes unless they're alive. And then we know all. If you watch any of my lives, you know they go forever. Because time is relative. Yeah, I just do that in there for, you know who you are. But right now, I've got this bearing housing chucked in the lathe. I have to turn it down the inside surface to make sure it sits flat on here because there's a gap. It's supposed to have a gasket. I'm not going to be able to run the gasket the way I've got machined out. So anyways, that's what I'm doing now. Machining out this housing to make it fit on that the way it's supposed to. Make sure it fits in the bell housing. Make sure it fits the bearing. And it does its job. But before I got machining on this, I got the last video edited, loaded up on YouTube. While I was on YouTube, I seen that my buddies from Perpetual Projects posted a new video this morning. So I've got it playing as I'm setting up the lathe, setting up all that. Oh. There's Travis hunting the picking pool.
Alright, so let's see what else is here while we're here.
Now, if you haven't seen their channel, go check it out. Perpetual Projects. I'll try to at them in the description box or something. They're actually supposed to stop by tomorrow on their way back from Colorado, going back to Alabama. But that's what's going on at this moment in the Squarebody shop. I'm going to be machining on this while I'm watching Travis and Amber on Perpetual Projects. Hopefully get some parts to get their Dodge pickup that we raced at No Name Nationals. Well, kind of raced because I broke. We didn't get a full race. Actually, it wasn't even a race from the beginning because I botched my launch and he just took off and left me. Anyways, there's going to be a rematch, so stay tuned for that. Someday, somewhere, we're going to have a rematch, hopefully before next No Name Nationals. But here we go. I've got this machined and I think I like the way it fits. I may do a little more touch up on it. I've got a little bit of a gap underneath in between the case and the bearing retainer. you can kind of see just a little bit of a gap there. And I want a little bit of a gap because I want to have, I don't want to be perfectly flat with this. I want to have some gasket material, RTV underneath that to help seal it up. Because if you get too close, then it all squishes out and you can have leaks. So I've got just a little bit of gap there. I haven't measured it. Kind of liking it. I'm gonna guess maybe 10, 20 thousandths. I don't know. I may refine that just a little bit, but for right now, it looks pretty good. I'm gonna set this bell housing on there and see what we got for fitment there. And yeah, see what we gotta do next. All right, as you can see, it slid right on there. There's no, I mean, I can turn it, but there's just no movement anywhere else. So I think it's a good snug fit. I am gonna have to mark and notch out the bell housing a little bit to make sure the bolts fit in there. Just like a little bit. It won't take much and it's not gonna affect anything. Well, so far so good. I got it notched out. I've got these bolts just kind of snugged up a little bit. I've got a couple bolts in my bell housing just to locate it. Everything is looking really good. I think it's going to work. You can't really see, but my notch for the drain back hole is not showing on the outside there. That's a good thing. I'll just have to make sure I get plenty of RTV, which I'm going to use, I think, some ultra gray, and I'm going to look to see what I have, or maybe pick up something when I get the seals. I got my seals in finally. I'm going to go ahead and install it in the input shaft housing, and then we'll do the output shaft later. I'm going to try to get this all, the front end done. Get the sealant on there, that way it's curing out. To install this seal, I've got, it's just a small block Chevy crankshaft sprocket, timing sprocket, and it fits this really good. So I don't have a good seal installer, but sometimes you just got to use whatever works. The RTV that I'm going to use for this is the Permatex Optimum Max Flex gasket maker and oil resistance. Actually, I haven't used this yet. This is kind of a new product to me. I've used the Optimum Black before, but not the Max Flex. And just a little helpful hint, save this piece that you cut off of your nozzle, and you can flip it back around, stick it in there, and that'll help keep it from curing out too much. It'll still cure out over time, but the best thing, you know, it helps. I don't know how many tubes of this stuff I've let run just because I only use a little bit and then go back to use it again and it's all cured out and a pain in the butt. Or I just got to poke a hole in the side of it, squeeze it out, makes a mess. I got this thing flipped over now. I'm gonna pull this yoke out. It's an 1" 13/16 socket. Hopefully it'll come loose. Boom. Fuck. Boom. Well, I got the yoke off. Now I need to get the seal out. And, you know, I went for 30 years without having an actual seal puller. I've always used screwdrivers or whatever. I can't find it now. The last time I remember using it was on the transmission in that Duramax, that Allison. I have no idea where I put it. Apparently I put it in that safe place. And it's just so safe that I can't even find it myself. So I'm gonna show you a little trick. Hopefully it'll work. Just grab you some, you can use either wood screws. I'm gonna use some roofing screws. These work pretty good because they'll self-tap pretty easily. You can run them in. Now I'm get you down on it. So we'll make sure you're not running down into the bearing and ruin anything. These screws may not be long enough, but I could always go to a longer wood screw or something. Yep, not long enough to reach. That's not gonna work either. But I can use those to pry with. Guaranteed to work every time, sometimes. And it's not gonna work this time because I'm trying to show you guys how easy it is. Oh well. It was worth a shot. So now, I just do it the old school way. Bear with me. Not probably the right way, for sure. But sometimes you gotta do what you gotta do. It's moving a little bit. There we go, it's moving. There we go. It wasn't pretty, but it's out. Get your new seal, get some lube on it. Now, I don't have a installer or anything big enough to go over that, so we're gonna have to improvise. If you're nice and easy, just work your way around. You can get it. There we go. Put a little lube. I got my yoke all cleaned up, and it doesn't really matter which way this goes on. Got a little lube on the spline, or the outside there, the mating surface. And on these, what I like to do is put a little, that RTV down inside there, because it will leak out just a little bit of fluid there. So I had plenty of meat to get those bolts drilled and tapped. We were going from these little dinky things holding it to the transmission to some good grade 8 1/2-inch bolts, and same thing for the mount that goes to the cross member. So I've got that done. The only thing left I got to do this transmission right now to get it ready to go underneath the truck is get it off the stand and bolt my PTO cover back on, get it sealed up. And yeah, this thing will be ready to go back underneath the truck. Well, between work and everything else going on, I've just been kind of getting to them when I can. So just kind of got with it today. Got him back together. Transmission's in, drive shaft is in, everything's back together the way it should be. Got him fired up. One of the floats was sticking, so it was a kind of a mess right there. Had to take the air cleaner off, mess around with the carburetor, get the float from being stuck. And got him pulled out of the shop. So Squeaky is not in the shop. He's waiting outside. I'm going to take him to town. We'll put some fuel in him and maybe just feel him out. You know, after having some issues, I get a little nervous sometimes with the test drives. Normally I really don't care. I'm just, I fix it. It's right. It's working right. But yeah, after you have several issues in a row, sometimes it gets a little nerve-wracking going for a test drive. But we'll take him to town, see how he does. Hopefully there won't be any bad vibrations. Hope it all works out good. Alright, so I'm trying to keep my spirits up. That test drive didn't go very good. I don't know if you could hear me in the truck or not, but when I took off from town, kind of got on it, it just didn't feel right. And when I got into high gear, it just really, I could really feel a heavy vibration at the same mile an hour that I was going into town, being nice and easy on it. But then after that, the whole way back, it had a vibration that wasn't there when I went to town. So I'm not sure what's going on. I'm going to bring it back in the shop, get it up on stands, kind of go over what's going on. You know, honestly, the most frustrating part about it is not that, you know, it's not necessarily broke again. I'm not sure what's going on, but you know, I didn't have that vibration before with the same exact drive shaft, same everything, except for I had the factory worn out carrier bearing in there and had zero vibration. no issues with it. Trying to upgrade it with the solid bearing, you know, and now it's something's off, something's wrong. So I'll figure it out. All right, I got him up on, oh, the light is bright. It just gets bright. Oh, now it's flashing. Nope. Okay. All right, I got my light on. It's really bright in my eyes. But I've got him up off the ground again. I actually had a couple things going on my test drive. I kept having something, felt like rocks or something hit the floorboard right at my feet. Wasn't sure what that was. I didn't know if something was coming apart or what was going on. Then the vibration part. But I think I found out what's going on. Well, I know for sure one of them, possibly two, and I think it's easily fixable. My emergency brake cable was right there, so that's making some noise and flopping around, hitting stuff. So I need to zip tie that up out of the way somewhere. I think so far everything else looks okay. The only other thing I've found so far is, yeah, now it's not wanting to move. Not sure if you could see that. This U-joint decided to go out, which it may be the factory 1978 U-joint. I'm not real sure. Yeah, I probably should have replaced it while I was doing this, but you know, everything seemed to be okay. But now it's pretty rough shape. This U-joint is brand new. The front U-joint, it looks to actually be the original because it's got the same nasty stuff that was on the back of the transmission that had scrape off. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to pull this drive shaft back out again and put a couple of new U-joints in there and see what happens. Yeah, I was afraid that maybe this carrier bearing just wasn't working right, because just moving around the yard it was doing some popping and grinding, and I thought, well, maybe my transmission. You never know. But I think it's just this U-joint is our main culprit. It's dry and now it's cracking and popping. So out with the drive shaft again and in with some new U-joints, which I should have done to begin with, but you know, that's how it goes. You just try to cut corners and it comes to bite you in the butt. I replaced those two U-joints. One of them was, yeah, toasted. The very front one, went ahead and replaced it just because I should have replaced them before. But anyways, so now all three U-joints on the back are brand new, greased up, ready to go. It's dark now, so I'm not gonna, I'll bring the camera along just in case something happens, I guess, but you're not gonna be able to see anything. I'm gonna take them for a quick test drive, nothing super serious. Just want to make sure the vibration's gone, go from there. Well, the test drive seemed to be pretty successful. No weird vibrations anymore. I think that was just a U-joint that finally gave out. Like, again, I should have replaced that before, but it is what it is. I got it up to, about 4,300 RPM, 4,400 RPM in high gear. With these tall tires, I'm not really sure what the speed was. Not really worried about that. It's mainly the RPMs, and it was holding fine. There's no weird vibrations. It's smooth. So I'm gonna think and say that the drive shaft is good for now. I still gotta build drive shaft loops before I take it to the drag strip, just to be on the safe side. Obviously I've had a little issue with some drive shafts, so safety loops will be a good idea. Hopefully I can get that done tomorrow and get this thing to the track this weekend. No promises. I've got to work some overtime next couple days, so it's gonna be touch and go. Well, I just got word that the drag strip is closed for the year, so no drag strip, no official times for Squeaky this season, but we're gonna be ready for next season. That is for sure. Yeah, we're gonna have all winter to mess around with him, really get some things dialed in and fixed up, and hopefully be able to hit the track in the spring, do some testing tunes, work some bugs out, and maybe actually get into some competitions. That is my goal, is actually to get into some competitions, just play around, maybe do some drag and drives. I don't know, but for now, we're gonna kind of set Squeaky aside. He's drivable the way he is, so I'll just leave him that way for now. I've got some other trucks I want to work on, got some other stuff you guys want to probably see, and we can get busy on the 339 stroker build and the little 283 build for Ryan with Streetcar Chronicles. So we got engine builds to do, we've got trucks to build or work on, so plenty of content, no worries there. So until next time, y'all keep your square bodies rolling, and we'll catch you later.